we're gonna play around with it and see. We're gonna get it together as long as we come along. So while we're doing this, I'm gonna give you some updates, some news, and some scores, and then we'll get into what we're gonna get into. All right. So first, the knockout of the year: Oscar Valdez Rex, Mikhail Burkill, with the violent left hook on Saturday, I believe that was. So if you didn't see that, you can go on YouTube. It's all over YouTube. It's all over social media, and you can get that and get to it, and see it. It was a mean left hook. So any boxing fan, you can appreciate that. You will appreciate that once you get there and get to that.
For sure.
Right? So also, there's one league source that is saying that Howie Roseman is the sole problem in Philly. Now, that's an issue that could take us half of a show. We may touch on it a little bit just to give you some information, and we'll get back to that if we get to it. Whatnot. You know how we sometimes we get to things, sometimes we don't. But just to give you the update on that, the Carolina Panthers are apparently all in on Deshaun Watson. They are reportedly clearing up space to capture Deshaun Watson. So, would that be a good move for them? Would it be a good look for Deshaun Watson? Really don't know, but we'll have to look into that and see how that plays out. The Houston Rockets are reportedly going to part ways with DeMarcus Cousins.
Get out of here.
Apparently, they are backtracking and going back to what they did when Mike D'Antoni was the coach, and they wanted to play small ball. And now they want to play smaller and play younger once Christian Wood returns to the team. The primetime era begins at Jackson State. We'll talk a little bit about that as we get along. Also, in your news, it's been reported, unfortunately, that Steelers coach Mike Tomlin has tested positive for COVID-19. So prayers out to him. Well wishes go out to him and his family to make sure that he stays healthy or gets healthy and gets back to what he needs to. Of course. That's Mr. Jackson State. That was Mr. Jackson State.
Given and curse.
So,
win the game and got
your Black History and sports moments for this week. Jack Johnson was the first black heavyweight champion.
In the world.
Fritz Pollard and Bobby Marshall were the first black football
great
players
minds think alike.
in the NFL.
I was just reading that.
Both of y'all guys.
About the NFL one?
Yep.
Hey, man.
That's why y'all partners. That's why y'all partners.
I was just reading.
Y'all go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Yes, indeed. Charlie Sifford was the first black
he was.
golfer in the PGA. And Baldy's boy, Mr. Bill William Russell.
Oh, man.
First black coach in the NBA.
Yeah.
And if you were tuned in last week, we talked about a little bit about Bill Russell, and we talked about some quotes, and we talked about Dr. J, and we talked about Wilt, and how Bill would always kind of defer to Wilt, even though Wilt did not win the championship. We talked about the GOAT thing, and we know that Bill Russell won 11 chips, and it's hardly ever talked about in GOAT conversation.
I don't know why.
But you can go over to YouTube, Sports Rap TV, and check that video because it is up, and you can see and get back what you missed from last week. So now we got some NBA scores and some NHL scores from yesterday. Start out with the Celtics. The Celtics fall in overtime to the Pelicans, 115 to 120. Pistons fall to the Magic, 96-105. The Thunder defeat the Cavs, 117 to 101. Timberwolves fall to the Knicks, 99-103. Shout out to a good friend of mine, Dennis Lynch, who is a diehard New York fan, especially the Knicks. And the Knicks are playing a lot better. Like I said last week on the show, Heat 100, the station that keeps it 100. Not a Knicks fan, but after the plethora of bad years that the Knicks have had, it is good to see them playing better. The Sixers fall to the Raptors, 110-103. The Nuggets fall to the Hawks, 115-123. The Nets defeat the Clippers 112-108,
What's up,
and
cuz?
the Kings fall to the Bucks 128-115. In the NHL, the Devils fall to the Capitals 4-3. Canadians fall to the Senators 3-2. The Flyers played the outside game yesterday against the Bruins, one of their nemesis, the biggest thorn, I believe, in their side in the
Right.
entire NHL.
Right.
They fall in that game 7-3.
Still got my head on.
The Jets defeat the Canucks 4-3. And in NCAA football, the debut
Oh, wow.
of prime time Deion Sanders. What better
Can I
to
do my
talk
dance
about-
real quick? Can I
What
do
better
the
to talk
dance?
about prime time than where we are right now?
Do
Like
my
all
dance
these
real
people
quick.
at prime time.
Do my dance real quick.
Prime time Deion Sanders in Jackson State.
That's my man.
He should be happy.
56-0, whatever. and
Oh,
53-0.
zip.
He should be happy.
So kudos and shout outs
That's
to
not
them.
easy to be a coach.
And
Paul.
shout outs to the NFL players,
Mhm.
the few that was there on the sidelines
Troy
to
Aikman.
support Deion. The most prominent name we saw was Troy Aikman.
Yes, sir.
But it
Eddie.
is a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
And if you have tuned into the show, you know that myself and Baldy,
Mhm.
we did discuss this when it was announced that he was going to take the job
Right, I'm
there. And we got to the point where Baldy mentioned and brought up how it could change the entire landscape of recruiting for HBCUs
Mhm.
as far as sports. And that's not that there hasn't been any recruiting for them, but it's usually a lot less prominent than the other major schools. So hopefully Deion can get them to the point where they can spearhead a new regime, a
Right.
new trend in college football and at HBCU.
Can I interject real quick?
Yes, you can, my brother.
I said that it should have been a joyful moment for him winning as he did,
Right.
but what wound up happening while they were playing the game,
Yeah.
somebody went in
And stole his stuff.
and stole money,
Cards.
cards and stuff out his bag.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
This is during the debut game.
Wow.
Yeah.
But here's the kick.
Right.
Somebody went in,
Right.
took it,
Somebody knew about it.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it came out that they found it.
Right.
And it was a miscommunication.
Kind of like that AI situation.
Right.
The airport,
Well-
bag in the airport.
Dion then posted on Twitter,
Right.
it is not a miscommunication. I don't know who came up with that.
Right.
One of my staff members
Mhm.
witnessed the thief
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and brought it to our attention, and then we got it back.
Right.
See that?
So it's
Always
kind of
somebody
weird,
watching.
man.
I know he got it back, bro.
Got it back. So it's kind of weird that
There's always somebody watching people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Y'all want to be up to the shystiness and the crookedness.
right.
There's always somebody watching.
And it's kind of weird that would happen because when he first got there, somebody broke in his car.
Wow. See that? But you know they found him. So like they say, like people like to say, look at God.
Yeah.
Couldn't have happened to a better, classier person.
Right.
And people
He
might.
said, luckily he was wearing the jewelry.
Time.
Right. You know. That's
He
right.
said, luckily,
You know what?
luckily I was
That
wearing my
sounds-
jewelry.
That sounds just
What
like
you said?
Deion. To
He
say,
said, luckily I had my jewelry
I
on.
I
had
was
my
wearing
phone,
my jewelry.
called my wife.
And that definitely sounds like Deion.
Yeah.
Because only prime time
Prime
would
time.
say something like
Prime
that.
time.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I was wearing
Stuff
my
was
jewelry.
later recovered, man.
Will be the only person that would say
My
something
boy
like
right
that
there. I love Deion
in that realm or whatever.
Mhm.
So let's get into
Yeah.
some of this stuff real quick.
Mhm.
And we're gonna save the NBA stuff for the second half
Right.
so that we can be prominent and be in depth and in tune with that conversation that we're going to have, because that Draymond Green conversation or that Draymond Green situation
Mhm.
is one that definitely needs to be discussed in layman's terms and for the general public,
Mhm.
because Draymond did it on his own, and the crazy part about that is we got bits and pieces from the media, and like we always tell y'all on here, the media is only gonna tell you what they want you to know, what they want you to hear.
Yeah.
So I've got an article that I read, and I got some points that I'm gonna discuss. Baldy's got it, so I know he's prepared with some points.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank is gonna chime in because he asked if we were gonna discuss that.
Yes, sir.
So we are gonna discuss that. Melvin Chappelle, thanks for tuning in.
Yo,
Everybody
man.
else tune in. Come on back. We are
What's up,
Facebook
Eddie?
Live.
Thanks for
So-
timing, everybody.
The Eagles Wentz trade. Just a quick recap.
Carson Wentz.
The trade is finally done,
Mhm.
so I'm sure a lot of Eagles fans are happy. There may be some that are not too happy.
How you feel, Dave?
There may be, I'm gonna get to that in a second. There may be
Mhm.
some that are a little confused.
Mm-hmm.
So Frank just asked me how did I feel about the trade.
You think it's a
In my-
win-win, 50-50?
In my honest opinion, first,
Who won the trade thing so far?
I don't think it should have happened.
Mhm.
Business wise and actual team wise. First, business wise, because of the cap hit,
Right.
they're going to
That was a
sustain
big cap.
in that. I think you could have wrote it out for one more year.
Mm-hmm.
The cap hit would have been significantly lower.
Mm-hmm.
And like I mentioned before my partners came back on one show,
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that they could have had an open competition,
Yeah.
you know, in training camp with new coaching staff and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I did not like about the entire situation,
Mm-hmm.
the entire saga, was one, he apparently asked for a trade because it was reported by all the media.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest issue, the biggest punch in the gut for me was that he never said anything throughout the entire situation.
Mm-hmm.
I posted last week his thank you letter to the city of Philadelphia,
Nice.
which was a great letter for a departing athlete.
Right.
There were a lot of mixed views among his teammates, his former teammates in that locker room, and a lot of mixed views among the fans. Like I said, my whole issue with it was that he never said anything. He never denied anything, that he
Right.
could ask for a trade. He just never said anything.
Right.
So a lot of people can read that in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have people that are like the players, his former teammates, who some of them looked at it as him abandoning them
Mm-hmm.
after the season that they had. And you know, ideally, the era that we all come from,
Right.
you generally think that you had a bad year or a subpar year, and you want to stick with the guys that you had that rode through that got you over those tough waves or got you through
Yeah.
that tough storm.
Mm-hmm.
You ideally, or realistically, more so ideally, you want to have a one shot again with that group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the era that we were brought up on,
Right.
just so people know. You want to have another shot at it with that same group. And it didn't happen, and it's not going to happen. We see that. Anthony Fulton, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah,
Terrence
too.
Nash, thanks for tuning in.
Little cousins.
Dwight Ike Franks, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, you still there?
So, in that situation, I don't think it was a good trade for the Eagles. Like I said, one,
I think
because of the
coach
cap
went
hit,
up, yeah.
and also because of the way that it's going to play out and what they got for him. And a lot of people were kind of like disappointed in what they got.
2 and
The
3.
Eagles did that in their own right to themselves and to him, devaluing him by asking for #1 picks after the Matthew Stafford trade,
Mm-hmm.
which you were not going to get
Mm-hmm.
because of the season he just played. Kind of like Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately?
That's what it all.
And that's
comes
not
down
to say
True. National
that he
football.
could bounce. It's not to say that he won't bounce back or he can't bounce
I
back.
think he will.
But the stipulations that were in that trade, and we all know what it was. It was a 2021 first round pick. But
Second, third.
this is the kicker. And this is where I say they should not have done the trade
At all.
at all. Because if Wentz plays 75% of the snaps,
Mm-hmm.
okay, of the games or of the
Right.
season,
Right.
The conditional 22 second round pick would become a first.
Right.
Okay. The second round pick that they got also could become a first if he plays at least 70% of the plays and the Colts make the playoffs.
Right.
So there's a lot that has to be had
For y'all to get that number one
for
pick.
this to be
Worth it.
worthy.
Yeah. And that cap hit.
You know, the cap hit is something totally,
Yeah,
it's something within its own right.
Right.
But he's got to play 75% of the season or the games. And again, he's got to play another 70%. And the Colts have to make the playoffs.
Right.
We will.
Tough on it.
It's going to
They
be
got
tough.
they got a good roster, man.
But it's going to be tough.
They do
because
have a good
they
team,
have a
but
good
it's
roster.
Florence
But now
Buckner
you're
too.
bringing in a new quarterback
Yeah.
that had a subpar year.
Well, Frank Wright was his coordinator.
That's all a moot point.
Right.
And I get that. He
Right.
was good under Frank Wright. He led us to the
It matters.
promised land. He didn't play in the promised land
Right.
game, but he led us to it.
Right.
Had arguably the best season of his career
Right.
by far so far.
Right.
But the problem is, you bringing in a quarterback who was allegedly unhappy with his situation here. Just playing devil's advocate and giving you the rumors from the rumor mill. He often changed plays
Right.
that were called by Doug Peterson, his head coach.
Right.
He was allegedly not a good locker room guy.
They said.
I said allegedly not a
Yeah.
good locker room guy.
He said it himself.
So
Yeah.
now,
He said he could have been a better teammate.
so
during
now
that time.
you're
Yeah.
moving this guy with all of those rumors, and I'm not saying that they're true or not true. I'm just playing devil's advocate,
Right.
giving you the rumor mill to get out a point.
Mhm.
Chuck, thanks for tuning in. And the problem becomes him coming off of a subpar season, going into a new situation, and like Baldy just mentioned, him owning up to that one thing of saying he could have been a better teammate.
Right.
How are these guys going to look at him now
Cross-eyed.
from another team?
Right.
Thanks for tuning in, Chuck. Yes, the three-headed monster is back. Chuck
Are they-
Boulder.
You
Boulder,
know,
my guy.
are they
Monster.
going to look at it and say,
Right.
okay, this guy is looking for resurgence as a player. He's redefining himself as a player,
Right.
or is he just same old, same old?
Right.
Real quick, can I chime in? To come to his defense, right? No, I'm not an Eagles fan, so real quick. His line was not there. So not making excuse, he was the reason why they had a crappy year. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the
But
thing.
his line was not there. The
Okay.
man got hurt. He was running for like no receivers
But
ball.
here's the thing.
He didn't have he ain't had
There
enough
were
to work
issues.
with.
There were issues.
But he doing himself.
There were issues.
There
But-
were issues.
Right.
What slightly trumps that
Right.
is the fact that he's in his 5th year in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He made mistakes
That rookies make.
that rookies make
True.
in his 5th year.
Should have threw the ball away.
And not saying that Jalen Hurts was the savior. Jalen Hurts played 4 games behind that same line.
True. That's true. That's true.
What the difference I saw was, or I feel like the difference was,
It's more elusive.
Jalen Hurts played football and took the opportunities that were presented to him in certain situations. I.e., we know he can scramble, he can run, but when those opportunities presented itself, he
Right.
took them.
Real quick, they gonna have tape on him next year, so.
But
that's it.
it's
They gonna
not
have tape on
that's
him.
I mean, you gonna have tape on everybody,
Yeah.
so
We'll
that's
see
not a
what you do
big
the second
issue.
year. Yeah, sure.
That's not a big issue.
Right.
It all depends on what the scheme is, if he ends up being the starter,
Right.
and his instincts.
Right.
And like I said, there were times when you saw Jalen Hurts throw the ball away.
True. That, you gotta throw the ball.
Like
He
I
didn't do that. He
said,
didn't do
like
that.
I said, year 5,
You shouldn't be doing that.
you made a lot of mistakes and you missed throws that you shouldn't really be missing
True.
as an elite quarterback.
Right. And
In
for that
your
high
5th
draft
year.
pick, too. Yeah.
Well, let's go back. So we go back to his first couple years in the league.
Right.
In his first couple years in the league, he was on his way.
He's fired. Tearing it
Right,
up.
he was on his
Absolutely.
way. So when you look at what he did and almost becoming an MVP,
Yeah.
and then the team winning a Super Bowl without him as a quarterback.
Well, he's
Right.
the reason why.
Well,
Well,
as a young quarterback, well, the barometer is where's the barometer now? It's not like he had a progressive part where, okay, we have a terrible year, okay, you building up to it. It literally went from boom to bang.
Yep.
In a matter of 2 years.
yeah, he's good.
And then once he came back, the barometer was still here.
Still high.
True.
The barometer is here.
I like
So
Carson.
if he doesn't match that, and this is where poor throws, this is where hanging on to the ball too long,
Yeah,
you
he's
trying to
doing
make
that
stuff
too.
happen that
Yeah.
you forcing the issue. And
Dates, thanks for tuning
and he kind of regressed as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
He regressed as a quarterback. He regressed as a leader.
Yes.
And once he regressed as a leader, naturally, these injuries start happening,
Receivers.
right?
Yeah.
Never really had a plethora of receivers. Had some good guys.
I mean,
Deshaun Jackson was
can't
there.
really.
yeah, but
But my thing with that.
he had good guys.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz is the
but
only
here's
receiver
my
he
thing.
had.
Zach Ertz was his favorite target.
Yeah, he's
Now, let me
Zach
just say this
I
though.
love
All
that.
tight ends
Yeah.
are young quarterbacks' favorite receiver.
But let me just
They're
say
the
this
closest
though.
to you.
And I'm gonna play devil's advocate again.
Drake, Jalen
Frank just mentioned his receivers, and we know the receivers were what they were.
Yeah.
But-
Average at best.
But this was year 5,
Yeah.
arguably the worst year of his career.
Yeah.
It was.
Year 3 and year 4,
Mm-hmm.
he willed the team to the playoffs
He did.
with
That he did.
very similar receiver situations like he had.
Oh, okay. Right.
This
Great point.
year.
Great point. Great point.
Okay,
You got
and
it.
again, you did mention, what's up, Rock? You did mention that there was a major issue with the offensive line.
Yeah. The receiver.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when those changes were made, you had practices with these dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is where I say he made mistakes that he should not have been making. As Frank, my man Chuck said he was about to say that. Absolutely, Chuck.
Mhm.
So you can't. You can kind of take the receiver issue out of the equation,
Yeah. He
if you will,
throw the ball away.
because there are quarterbacks in the league that adjust, and they always go to that thing like the media or mainstream media like to say he threw his receiver open.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There were things that he could have done, and I mean there were some drops.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drops with the inexperienced receivers. I get that, but as a quarterback, like Baldy said, this is where your leadership comes into play.
It does.
Which, to the naked eye, was not there for the fan base of Philadelphia. That leadership was not there.
Right.
And it just went south, and it just kept going south, and then it turned into the snowball, and that was it. But again,
Yeah.
year 3, year 4, he willed the team to the division title and got into the playoffs.
Right.
And
But
you
then
had
this year,
and you had
as bad as the division was,
terrible.
the Philadelphia Eagles ended up with Stan Groovy Law.
4 or
Thanks,
5
man.
wins.
4 or 5 wins, but they were still not out of the playoff picture
Terrible.
until week 16.
Yeah. Really 17 almost.
This team, dog, and I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna look at it from the outside looking in.
Mhm.
This team, this city, got a Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and when this city got that Super Bowl, Eagles fans was already arrogant before the bowl, before the chip, bruh. Before
I
they
ain't gonna lie,
won,
I can
before
stand
the
it.
Eagles even won anything. You
I
know I'm a
agree with that.
Niners fan.
Yeah.
You know I've argued with Eagles fans since I was 8. It has not changed. When the Eagles won, the first thing, and Dino, you know, the first thing I said was, I can't even talk trash about it no more. They done got a chip.
Everybody in that division got
Right?
a chip now.
Now,
At least one.
these same fans, now they got this chip.
Mm-hmm.
It's an expectation of this dude
It's
that I don't think
It's
he
like-
was ready for,
it's like
man.
you just said.
Everybody hit it right
Just
on
like
now.
you said.
I don't think he was ready
2017
for it.
was here, had a little slippage,
Right.
I
won
don't
that
think he was
Super
ready
Bowl.
for it.
So in the fans' eyes,
They want to get back there.
that
again.
barometer,
Expectations is high.
that barometer was there,
Mhm.
and it just did not match. Chuck, he said, Baldy, he said, what
I
you
said, I don't want
saying,
no, I
Baldy?
don't want no trouble, Chuck.
He said he don't want no trouble. All right.
I know
So
how
Frank,
y'all Eagles fans is.
Just so you know, Chuck, I've been willing this out. I've been strong.
Right.
I've been strong, holding it down for us, because I got 2 49ers fans in here.
Right.
Listen, Eagles Nation.
We be
But
back next
I
year.
want the Eagles Nation to know that I have been a hater of y'all all my life.
See that?
Alright,
That's
all
why-
my life.
Player.
That's why he fits so well here. Keeping it 100.
But at the same time,
He said you about to get it, bro.
but at the same time,
Mhm.
and each person knows me. At the same time,
Mhm.
I'm able to criticize my team the same way I can criticize anybody else's team. See, the good thing,
What's going on?
That's our
homie?
the
quarterback.
thing about me arguing with a lot of Eagles fans is I live in Philly and I know their history. So in order for me to argue with you,
You gotta know
I
something.
gotta have
Gotta
some
know something.
ammunition
Yeah.
in the gun.
You got some facts.
I can't just be, well, y'all garbage. No, I can
True.
explain to you
That's
why
any
y'all may
fan.
be struggling,
Any fan really.
and vice versa.
Right.
But you have to be objective enough to understand how good your team is.
Absolutely.
Or is the barometer too high for a team that lost a lot of people due to injury,
Mhm.
that had to supplement second and third string guys
Niners too.
to block for a guy that was just coming off injury.
Right.
COVID.
And it just got kind of crazy and got out of hand, and the Eagles were lucky
Mhm.
that they were in the NFC East
Say it again.
because
Let it be in the West.
the Niners couldn't get in there with Albert.
It could have been in any other division.
Yeah,
Like
true,
we mentioned.
true.
We
And
said
there's
it
been a
was gonna
bunch of-
be-
yeah.
We said it could have been a possibility of a team going 8-8
Right.
Mhm.
and hosting a
Yeah,
home like
hosting
like
a
the
playoff.
end, like this season it ended up
Right.
being.
Right. 'Cause back in the day,
The
they-
Washington football team was what, 9-7?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that line. They
And
got-
so that
And
goes
they
back to what we
hosted-
said. They need to change that where
And
it needs to be
hosted
them
and
top
11 and what was Tampa Bay
They
11
didn't
and
change that.
5.
11-5.
That's
And they had to they hosted
Yep.
an 11-5 team.
Yeah.
Like
They
we
changed
said,
that.
that needs to be tweaked some kind of way.
Years ago, they ain't gonna do it.
You know,
Okay.
it needs to be tweaked some kind of way.
Somehow.
With that being said, we move on to the other side of the fence.
Right.
Mm.
You ready, Chuck? Howie Roseman,
He need to be fired, man.
in my opinion, should have been fired. If not him and Doug, he should have been fired.
Howie Roseman
It shows
is Jed York.
the
All over.
situation shows. The situation shows
They might be
His
related.
contract ain't up yet.
more prominently the last 3 years. It shows more prominently the last 3 years.
Mhm. I can agree with
Because
that.
He got fed off that Super Bowl.
well, you got the Super Bowl,
That's what we did.
but
He got fed off that.
we all know it's hard to get there once.
I'm gonna give you one too.
It's hard to win it, and it is super hard to repeat.
To repeat. Because you normally
know
lose
that.
everybody.
We know the extra
We
playoff
know
spot
that.
everybody got in there.
But
Oh, go ahead, bro. I'm gonna do it.
but you look at the makeup of the roster, like Baldy just mentioned. Offensive line was down to second, third string players.
Receivers in and out.
But these players were picked by management.
Mhm.
GM.
The receivers, just this year alone, you give the fans the story that you get Jalen Rager, you got some speed, you put speed around Carson Wentz. Okay, sounds good. And it's always the thing with the draft picks in every sport,
Right.
if they are able to perform.
Who's this? What's up, man?
But
It's
the problem is,
a draft pick. It's a roll of the
draft
dice.
pick. But you look at how receivers that were there for the taking, mainly Justin Jefferson, who set all kinds of rookie records.
Mhm.
And he played for who did Justin Jefferson? What team was he on?
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Mhm.
Good.
And
I
he
wanted him in
played
the draft, ball.
with a quarterback
That was
named
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
Oh boy, God, he's terrible.
NFC East and Eagles fans are very familiar with Kirk Cousins.
He's trash.
So, ideally, when you look at it, things on paper, Jalen Rager played with a better quarterback, arguably,
Right.
Right.
on paper.
Right.
But he set all kinds of rookie records.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck, my guy, he
What's
says,
up,
whose
Randy?
fault was that? He said, I understand they did what they did. I understand they did what they needed to do to get the Super Bowl win. but you can't keep drafting the same way you have been. Absolutely, Chuck.
You know
So
what?
again, I say,
It goes back to what we said before. They're drafting guys. They're drafting position players, and they're not drafting football players.
Right.
And that's what changes. The league has become specific to position than opposed to we just need to get the best athlete, the best football player. Because that changes everything.
Chuck says, preach.
That
We can't
changes
get any
everything.
better with
G
Howie
and Ball,
at the
come
helm.
G and Ball.
He shouldn't be in charge of the draft. I agree. And I've said this
You just
a few
drafting a
times
position.
before.
You need to get the player.
Normally, and I'm not saying that I'm a Howie fan, but normally or usually, he's good with the money.
What we talking about, Roseman?
Yeah, he's good with the money,
Yeah, that's
the
it.
numbers.
You know how to save it.
But as far as
We've seen this before.
yes, but as far as selecting the talent,
Trash.
when the draft comes around, he should be in that little bar, in that little room that Chip put him in with the empty beer kegs when the draft comes around. That's where he should be.
Yeah.
Because there's no way, and I understand Jalen Reagor, what he did, and it's the same situation that didn't translate to the pros. Jalen Reagor had the season he had to get him as high as he was on the draft.
Right.
Playing with what? He played with three different quarterbacks, I think, the year.
Right.
Okay. Looks good, but you know you got Jason Peters, who should not be playing football anymore.
He should retire. He's a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
The mainstay and the anchor of that offensive line was Jason Kelsey.
Center. That's it. He
Close second.
He was the only one to stay healthy.
Close second, barring injuries, Lane Johnson.
Yeah. Lane, you came back from
Okay.
injury.
What do you say? Anthony Fulton,
Kelsey.
said I feel you on that. I feel you on the players, but the scheme also plays a part because athlete versus scheme.
Right.
Well, that has truth to it. But the weird thing about is when you get a football player,
Right.
you scheme your design around the skill set of that player.
Right.
Take Kansas City for instance. Who's their best offensive weapon?
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. And everything functions around the speed of that player.
Yep.
So once you get this guy in motion and take him to a deep post, that means everything underneath is coming because you got three guys chasing him.
Yeah.
So the scheme functions off the quality of the player, the athleticism of that player. If you're not getting the top athlete, but you're just getting a position, then there you go.
Emmett Rock.
Emmett Bates.
He says Howie does not have an impressive resume. One Pro Bowler, the one he got rid of. How does he still have a job? Hey, listen.
It was rumors he would get fired last year.
Hey, how some of the people still got a job when you working?
It's really in the hands of Jeffrey Lurie, I believe, with the loyalty that has
he got pulled.
That has gotten him into a pickle, if you will. There's no way Howie Roseman should be in the draft. And immediately, when they lost that game and they ended up getting the 6th pick, now there's a lot of talk about them drafting a quarterback again, possibly.
Yeah, so he can compete with the job with Jalen.
But here's the thing: there are enough veteran free agents. I just saw something earlier today. One Tyrod Taylor,
Fitzpatrick,
who could come in and mentor Jalen Hurts. Even if he doesn't start, he can still be that veteran because the new offensive coordinator, Steichen, was with Tyrod Taylor, understands and knows the system. And I think this is part of what Baldy was talking about, where you can bring players in that fit in the scheme or that understand the scheme, as opposed to bringing in a guy, a rookie, who you try to put things around.
Yeah, you're at ground zero, and
you're still at ground
that's
zero.
how you keep the foundation. Yeah. Listen, man, it's like construction work. When you want to knock a building down, if the building's deteriorating, you want to knock the building down. Well, if you're saying that the foundation is still good, well, you don't blow the whole building up.
Right.
Sure.
You go in and you take parts of the top down to where it's solid, and then you build it back up. You don't just implode the whole thing.
Right.
True.
Once you start imploding the structure, the building's going to fall. Yeah. So if you're getting rid of pieces that are structurally sound for this team, and then you're bringing in pieces You bringing in iron when you should bringing in steel.
It's not gonna work.
The building's
Not
gonna
gonna work.
collapse.
Absolutely.
Good.
And that's the foundation of how things work.
And I
You know what
think,
I'm saying?
I think this upcoming season is, in my opinion, going to be arguably a make or break for Howard.
Yeah.
I think this may be his last
What's
hurrah.
up with y'all coach? That new coach, man. He can't have a press conference right.
You know, I mean,
that guy.
Wait.
No, that's what they said.
Wait. Now let me ask you something. Now, when you saw this man in that press conference,
That's the
right?
same, man.
I didn't even ask you this. I never asked you. And it's kind of crazy that it happened, and I did not answer.
you hear this, Chuck? They about to get me.
And Chuck,
I'm
you on here, so yeah, you
I'm
get
strong.
it.
I think I got something for it.
What were your thoughts
Oh my God.
on how or his response to the questions? What were your thoughts?
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
Okay.
just to poke a little fun and again play devil's advocate, I thought like how
I'm
other
telling you,
people
I'm real good.
thought.
What's up, Norm?
And
Where
the
that
movie,
what the
and
button
the movie
at?
Goodfellas,
Ask me a
and the
question.
movie Goodfellas, Jimmy 2 times.
Uh-huh.
So that was evident.
Norm,
Yeah, that was a
Um,
weird interview.
Norm.
The one thing that I can say I was okay with was, I think there was a point when he mentioned about building players and being a teacher.
Mhm. I did hear that part.
I can respect that part, but him handling that press conference was
Terrible.
not a good look.
That was
Yeah,
hard
the
to
question
look
about
at,
the
man.
quarterback.
Especially coming to a city like this.
They
City
gonna
is
rip
rough,
you-
man.
Yeah.
Coming to a city like this. Okay.
City's rough.
Now,
I know.
I understand.
You're all
I
alive.
understand
Mhm.
that he went, in my opinion, the safe route with selecting his staff.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at that and I talked about that on the show where I mentioned that it felt like he was picking coaching staff, guys that he has worked with in the past,
What's up, Norm?
Mm-hmm.
guys that he is familiar with. Alexis Strong, thanks for tuning in. And guys that can be brutally honest, whereas he can bring something to the table. And I think he would have enough respect for one of those guys if they said, no, don't do it that way. Do it this way, and we'll all do it together.
Right.
And I think that's just one good point, one strong point I think in him, where I think where it's going to make him a little bit easier transition to being the head coach.
Right.
I also felt like he understood the responsibilities of being the head coach, where he brought in an offensive coordinator and a passing game coordinator.
Right.
Which was something that Doug Peterson didn't do. And it took a washed out season for Doug Peterson to realize and admit and say that he should have been, or he should have someone else assist in the play call. So I respected Sirianni for that. But all in all,
That quarterback.
it was tough. It was tough to look at.
Right.
Like I
So you
said,
think- what
and
you
that
think
was
on-
that was the
quick, Dave.
running joke with Jimmy 2 times.
Dave,
from
what
Goodfellas.
what situation you think he's gonna lead y'all to? Well, the division is trash, so that gonna help y'all.
Well,
Not trash, but you know what I
Here's
mean.
the
Like it's easy. It's more easy like it was back in the 80s.
No,
It's
Right.
not
It's
as
not-
good.
How many wins? Basically, real quick. How many wins you think he's gonna do in his first season? 8, 7, 10.
Well, you gotta wait till around August.
yeah.
To me, I believe you gotta,
gotta
wait
wait.
till August.
So he put a staff together.
You gotta
Oh,
wait
yeah,
till
and-
these guys get to work.
Yeah. And you never know who they may pick up.
Right.
Right.
So that plays a part in, like, I would never make a prediction right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, it's
So
still,
the reason why I
it's
said
still
that-
bad. It ain't March
It's
Madness
real
yet.
tough.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
real tough to make it. It's real
But
tough
it's hard to make
But
that.
it's going to be more easy because you know why.
Now, if you want to
The
make a
division-
blind guess,
The division is easy.
if I say a blind guess,
Yeah, 7.
I may give them anywhere between 6 or 7, given the way the
Division.
I could
the
see
vision
6 or
is.
7.
Right.
Yeah.
possibly
And, like
6
I
or
saw the
7.
schedule. I forget.
Right.
I don't have the schedule with me, but I've seen not the
I got-
schedule,
yeah, I
but
got
I've seen
that
the opponents. So if I had to make a decision, I think I would agree
7
with
and 9.
Baldy go somewhere 6, 7 wins.
Because listen, man,
Because
at the
it's his
end of the
first
day,
year.
it
It's
is
his
hard
first
to
year.
win, bro.
He's coming from a different conference,
Yeah,
with
it's
different
hard to
styles
win.
overall, and it's hard to win
Right.
in this league. You saw what happened to Kansas City with their offensive line problems
Oh my
in
goodness.
the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But the difference was,
That pass rush. You getting
but the
pass rush
difference,
lead,
the difference in
matters.
that particular two particular quarterbacks play was
Mhm.
a little bit more athleticism
Right.
on the Mahomes side.
That toe is messed up. I'm sorry.
But they had the talent.
Mm.
The talent was better.
Mm.
Even though the offensive line was what it was for Kansas City, the skill position talent
Right.
was a lot better.
Right.
They just ran into
Juggernaut.
a team, I won't say a juggernaut,
Right.
they ran into a team that they had beat earlier in the
That's a
season.
dangerous team, Joe. Mm-hmm.
And they made a concerted effort to take out the players that did the most damage to them earlier in the
Kelsey
season.
ain't nothing.
We got y'all this year. Oh, shit,
Yeah.
you hear that, Eagle fan? Chuck, I hope you listening. Oh, I hope you
So
listening.
we go out there, y'all come here.
So we are,
But it's not the schedule. Those are just the opponents, right?
those the
schedule.
opponents.
We go there. I think we go
So
there.
it says
The
versus
schedule's not
San
up yet.
Fran.
We're more than
So
likely
that means
we'll
they
probably-
come to us.
Yeah,
Yeah, more than likely
So,
we'll probably go out
I knew
there.
that.
Let me run down your
All right.
schedule because I'm just gonna run down your
Oh, we gonna
opponents.
get y'all to work.
So one, y'all got
Hopefully
the
y'all have a quarterback.
NFC South this year.
True.
And I think on just us in our division. So y'all got the NFC South: Atlanta, Carolina, Dallas, Denver,
far.
Detroit, Giants,
Mm.
Las Vegas,
Oh, good.
Washington, naturally,
And I know we go 2 Vegas.
New Orleans,
Vegas.
Tampa Bay,
Mhm.
Kansas City,
Mhm.
Chargers.
They play Kansas City here?
So you got you know when you look at the type of teams. Now, if I had to break down
Who
the
we
type
play
of teams
this
you're playing,
Because you figure.
I'm looking at Carolina. I think y'all can beat Carolina.
Y'all trash.
I'm looking at Atlanta.
I think we can get 2 to 3
Y'all beat
wins.
Atlanta.
I think we can get 2 to 3 wins in the division.
I think so too. I think y'all would
Because
more
we're
likely
uncertain-
split.
Yeah, because
No.
we're uncertain of the situation with
No.
the Cowboys and their
Right.
quarterback situation.
Right. Giants.
Washington
Y'all-
just won the division by default.
Mm-hmm.
The
That
Giants,
line- real quick, that
the
line
Giants
good,
are still growing. They're getting better.
That line
But I
good.
think that's a team that we could split with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, I think we could get two, maybe 3 wins
Yeah,
in
you
the division.
didn't be
All
watching
they said
that line,
Carolina.
that line.
I didn't say. I said it's possible. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, y'all gonna sweep the Giants. Y'all own them for like last 6-7 years.
But
Cowgirls.
it's tough.
Emmett said they
You won't
won't.
see more than 5 wins.
They won more than 5 wins in the next
5-11.
2 years.
So y'all been picking third and
Emmett crazy.
Mhm.
So let me tell you, my man Emmett graduated the year before me in '92, but
Do I know?
he was vicious. Emmett Bates, you know Emmett.
Right.
Emmett was a
So
lineman. He
He's
was
a-
vicious.
So he's a who? What fan is?
So he knows.
Yeah, Eagle fan.
He watches the line like a hawk.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I can listen to this dude talk about
The D-line
because of the both.
Well, okay.
Because of the coach that we had in high school, you know, he
That's
played in the
important.
NFL and all that. So he
Mhm.
taught those guys.
Right.
And their eyesight for things on that line is far beyond what I see.
Right,
I can
right.
see some stuff, but they
The trenches.
understand
Mhm.
the footwork and all that stuff a little better than
Right.
me. So, you know, when I
Yeah.
he be talking his talk, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I believe hey Emmett, if my memory serves me correct, I think you're a Giants fan. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I
Yeah.
think Emmett a Giants
So
fan.
yeah. So
What's up,
I
team?
think
this-
I'm wrong.
we're gonna get ready to wrap this Eagles situation up. So again, I am one that's in agreement with the article that
This is my
said
guys right here.
Howie Roseman is a major part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And as of right now, I'm a little idle because I'm waiting to see what happens with the draft.
Right. Y'all picking what?
They have the number 6 pick overall in the first round, and they got some other picks.
I
But
get the quarterback.
that there is the kicker, and taking another quarterback. What does that say to Jalen Hurts?
It says they're way too short on you.
No, what it is competition.
It's not competition. It's
Earn-
exactly,
no,
it's
earn-
exactly what
I
Ball
will
needs to
earn-
say.
We're
True.
not sure.
I will earn. True. That
We're
means
not
he
sure.
has to
And then-
earn it.
But then
It's
that
like in
goes,
life, you have to earn
it's
stuff.
not so. I don't think it's that. That's a good point, Frank. But I don't think it's so much that I kind of agree with Baldy.
Right.
Where it's the point where they're saying we not 100% sure on you,
Right.
and
What's the NFL stand for? Not for long, right?
that's right.
So he has to earn it. I like to
but-
earn it. Don't get all
I mean,
the feelings
yeah,
get hurt because I
everybody
drafted
has
a
to earn
quarterback.
But
Yeah.
the thing is,
They
you
did Aaron
drafted a
Rodgers.
quarterback
Mhm.
in the second round in the previous
They
draft,
did the Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers
and then
way
you
better.
draft a quarterback, say per se, in this round,
Right.
in this draft. It leads me to believe, and it leads me to say that you're uncertain of how you want to go, as far as with your scheme and with your quarterback situation.
Green Bay.
I mean, that's how I'm looking at it.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, Emmett, I know you're an Eagles fan.
So,
I'm just talking to you.
Again, I agree with a lot of people that Howie Roseman is the major part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely should not be majorly involved, majorly in charge of the drafting of players,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see what happens with that number 1 pick.
Before you break, D,
Mhm.
for those who are listening, we're about to be done with the football aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But get a chance, read up on Kellen Winslow Jr. He just got the plea. Got 14 years
Wow.
Mhm.
for rape of a homeless woman and 2 other women.
Wow.
Amazing.
Uh,
Unbelievable.
and Vincent Jackson,
Yeah.
who passed away.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, they have not.
What was the reason why?
It's still not
That's why
announced
the
what the
COVID
reason was.
He's in
The
a
people
hotel.
in the hotel.
Yeah.
Lady came in. It looked like he was asleep on the couch. She left. She came
Right.
back later. He was
He
still in the
still
same
in the same
position.
Yeah, I want to know what's
She
up
called the
there.
cops, and he
Yeah, he was a-
come to
I like
find
that.
out, autopsy showed he had been gone 3 days prior to
I
that.
heard alcohol.
So, but I just wanted to throw that out there before
Absolutely.
we, slide off.
Yes, sir.
And the last one, go back and read the kid apologizing to Cam Newton.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So
He tweeted
yeah.
that. He should have did it in person. But
It is what it is, but
he did it.
I want-
mean, that's the era we in now, the social media thing.
disrespectful.
But read it though.
He did apologize, so I give him
He-
a
the
smidge
quote
But you gotta
of
read
credit
it.
there, right?
Because it's the apology is one of them apologies like
Somebody
I'm
forced
sorry,
you.
but
Yeah, somebody
man,
forced
it
you to
is
say
what
that.
it
It's
is.
like somebody mentioned
One of
you should
those.
apologize.
Yeah. So when you get a chance, go on there and check that
When
out.
you come back from break, we'll do that.
6:42, 42 minutes past 6 a.m.,
Yes,
6
sir.
p.m. hour. The Three Amigos are here.
We in the
Thanks
building.
for everybody that tuned in.
What's up?
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into our NBA stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely going to talk some
Got my
Sixers.
picks.
Got Frank in here, so we may talk a little bit Lakers.
Oh,
maybe.
yeah.
But
AD's down.
definitely some Sixers, especially with the MVP candidate. And
Real
Joel.
MVP.
we
Joel.
gonna talk Draymond.
You gotta stay healthy.
You are tuned in to Sports
Drop
Rap
50
People on the
overnight.
radio. We'll see you on the other side in just a few
Holla at your
seconds.
boy.
A real MVP, not that flopping one you got.
We got
The flip-flopper.
LeBron James.
You heard what boy